Good morning, Year Sixes. So today's arithmetic is here. I think you can do questions 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 independently. Okay, so question 6 is 7.519 subtract 3.5. So you have to make sure that the ones are in the correct column. So the 3 must go below the 7, 3.5. Put your zeros in, your placeholders. Now you can subtract. 9 subtract 0 is 9. 1 subtract 0, and you can carry on. Question 7. I think you can do that completely on your own. 8,701, add 734. Remember, make sure that all the digits are in the correct column. Question 8, again, you can do this on your own, making sure the digits are in the correct column. Number 9, 6,300 divided by 7. So it's asking you how many 7s are in 6,300. So how many 7s are in 6? There's no 7s in 6, with 6 remaining. How many 7s in 63? So counting your 7s, 7, 14, 21, and so on. Write your answer there. How many 7s are in 0 will be 0. How many 7s in 0 will be 0. Instead of using the bus stop method, you could have just done, well, how many 7s are in 63? Then make it 100 times bigger. Question 10. 1.67 divided by 1,000. So because we're dividing by 1,000, we have to move the digits 3 places. And because we're dividing, the number becomes 1,000 times smaller. So using your place value grid, 1.67 divided by 1,000, the number gets smaller, so the digits move this way. So pick up the 7, move it 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Pick up the 6, move it 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Pick up the 1, move it 3 places. 1, 2, 3. The decimal point remains here. So here you need your placeholders. So there's your very, very small number. Some of you may prefer to move the decimal point 3 places, remembering that because you're dividing, the number gets smaller, so that the decimal point moves this way. If I move the decimal point that way, the number becomes 10 times bigger. So move the decimal point this way, and the number will become smaller. But I need to move it 3 places. So 1, 2, decimal points there, 3, decimal point, the zeros are there, decimal point, and then a 0 before the decimal point. Okay, so that's question 10. Question 11. 23.6 subtract 7.82. So the 7 must line up in the ones column. There's your ones column underneath 3. So the 7 goes here, 7.82. Put your placeholder there, and now you can subtract. 0 subtract 2 you can't do, so you need to exchange. Cross off the 6, that becomes a 5, then this is a 10. 10 subtract 2 is 8. And you can continue. 5 subtract 8 you can't do again, so you need to exchange. 15 subtract 8, and so on. Question 12, 7/8 subtract 2/3. When you're adding or subtracting fractions, you have to make sure the denominators are the same. Here, the denominators aren't the same, so you need to make sure that they are. So, what is the common factor here? What can our denominators be? Well, I know that 8 times 3 is 24, so I'm going to make the denominators 24/24. So what do I do to 8 to make it into 24? What do I multiply 8 by to make 24? I multiply it by 3, which means I have to multiply the numerator by 3. So 7 times 3 is 21. So there's the equivalent fraction. 7/8 is the equivalent to 21/24. What do I do to the 3? What do I multiply 3 by to make 24? I multiply it by 8, which means I have to multiply the numerator by 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. So 2/3, the equivalent fraction is 16/24. Now my denominators are the same. I can now do the calculation. 21 subtract 16, or find the difference between 21 and 16. And then your answer will be something 24ths. Great. Question 13. 7,304 multiplied by 66. So how we've done this in class before, remember, is we've covered up the 6 and we've done 4 times 6, 0 times 6, 3 times 6, 7 times 6, and written the answer here. Then I've covered up the other 6 here, but because I've covered up that 6, this 6 is actually a 60, so I have to make all my answers 10 times bigger, so I need my 0 here. Some of you like to call it your magic 0. It's not that magic though, because instead of doing 6 times 4, I'm actually doing 60 times 4. So 6 times 4, write your answer here. 0 times 6, write your answer. 6 times 3, write your answer. 6 times 7, write your answer. Then add them together. Question 14. So we've got 5,676 divided by 43. So it's asking you how many 43s are in 5,676. So because we are dividing by a 2-digit number, we need to do our long division and then write our starburst here. So what is 1 times 43 is 43. What is 2 times 43, double that, is 86. What is 10 times 43? Well, there's 143, times it by 10, 430. What's 100 43s? Well, times that by 10 again, 4,300. What's 5 43s? Well, 10 43s is 430, so half of that would be 5 43s, so it would be 215. What else could we do? 20 43s, well I know that 2 43s is 86, so 20 43s, make it 10 times bigger, 860. So now I've got my starburst, I can start to subtract chunks of 43. So first of all, I'm going to subtract 100 chunks of 43. So I'm going to subtract 4,300. What have I got left? 6 subtract 0 is 6. 7 subtract 0 is 7. 6 subtract 3 is 3. 5 subtract 4 is 1. What have I got left here now? I'm going to do 20 43s. So subtract your 20 43s, which is 860. Right, subtract that number, see what's left. Keep going until you have nothing left. You may have a remainder at the end. Remember to count up how many groups of 43 you have in your margin here. Question 15. 1/4 multiplied by 5/6. Or it is actually asking you, what is 1/4 of 5/6? So to work that out, all we need to do is multiply the numerators together, multiply the denominators together. So 1 times 5 is what? 4 times 6 is what? Question 16. 2/3 divided by 8. Because we're dividing fractions, we have to do our K, F, C. So we keep the first fraction, 2/3. We flip the second fraction, so this 8 is 8/1. So we flip it over, so it's 1/8. And then we change the operation. So instead of dividing, we are multiplying. Now, because it's multiplying fractions, we can just multiply the numerator, then multiply the denominator. So 2 times 1 is what? 3 times 8 is what? Well done. Right, nearly there. So, question 17. Question 17. 9.03 times 4. So I could just put my times 4 there and do my 3 times 4, my 0 times 4, my 9 times 4, making sure that my decimal point is there. Or I could do, there's my 9.03, I could jump the decimal point out 2 places to make it 100 times bigger. So I'm going to write 2 decimal places here to remind me to jump the decimal point back in at the end. Times it by 4. So 3 times 4, 0 times 4, 9 times 4. Write your answer here. And then remember to jump your decimal point in 2 places. 1, 2. Great. Last question. Question 18. 95% of 572. Now, how we've been doing this over the last few weeks is finding out 10%, then timesing it by 9, and then working out what 5% is, which is half of 10%, and then adding it all together. But because it's 95%, what we could do is we could do 100%, which is 572, subtract 5%, and then that will give you 95%. So what is 5% of 572? Well, what is 10% and then half it? So what's 10% of 572 divided by 10? So you can either do your place value grid, 572, divide it by, there's your decimal point in a whole number, divide it by 10, so move the decimal point this way, making the number 10 times smaller, 57.2, or some of you would just prefer just to move the decimal point in. So 10% is 57.2. So what is 5%? Well, half it. So divide it by 2. 57.2. How many 2's are in 5? Is 2. Remainder 1. How many 2's are in 17? Well, counting 2's. Well, I know that 8 2's are 16. Remainder 1. Put your decimal point in. Remember, keep it all. Your decimal point needs to be lined up all the time. How many 2's are in 12? Is 6. So 28.6 is 5%. So there's my 100%, 572. And now I'm going to subtract 5%. I'm going to subtract 28.6. Notice that I made sure that my 2 was under the 7 in the tens column and my 8 was under the 2 in my ones column. Put my decimal point in with my placeholder. So there you go. Now you can do your calculation. 0 subtract 6, you can't do, so exchange. 10 subtract 6 is 4. Don't forget your decimal point. 1 subtract 8 you can't do, so you need to exchange. 11 subtract 8, and so on. I think that's it. Well done, everybody.